It was 1958 and a relatively unknown hockey team from Little Kelowna, BC was about to fight its own Cold War. But this war was on the ice against the Soviets. Step back in time tonight for a game that made sports history.
It was a half-century ago, and the years have faded many of the memories.
And that's me right there, right next
And that's
to it.
Mike Durbin there.
Yeah,
where's Mo on there?
The year was 1958, and the Kelowna Packers senior men's hockey team was one of the best in the country. Bill Bugsy Jones was a centerman out of Saskatoon.
Where are you there, Bugsy?
I'm right here,
Bugsy in there.
right there.
On his left wing, Mike Durbin hailed from Brandon, Manitoba. Another prairie boy, Regina's Mo Young, skated on the right side. Also playing forward for the Packers, Winnipeg's Brian Roche. But it wasn't their local successes that cemented the Packers' place in hockey history. The Russian Ice Hockey Federation wanted a high-caliber Canadian team to play an exhibition series against the 5 best Soviet teams to showcase Canadian-style hockey to the Russian players and fans. But some of Canada's hockey establishment were not happy the Packers were the chosen team. Foster Hewitt, then the Dean of Canadian Hockey Broadcasting, predicted they wouldn't win a game.
Who's that fella? Foster Hewitt?
Foster Hewitt,
Some of the remarks he made that we're sending a team from our team over there, it's like, he says, they're going to get slaughtered over there.
The Packers were ready to make an historic journey behind the Iron Curtain, but were warned by the Canadian Embassy that their hotel rooms may be bugged and to be careful who they talk to.
When we flew into Moscow, he jumped on the plane with the guns and he demanded our passports. This is how bad it was. The Cold War days, eh?
Their first game put them straight up against the Russian Red Army. The Packers took an early lead against the Soviet team, but it didn't last long.
Well, the game was getting a little rough, and the refereeing was really bad in those days, and you know how Canadians are. And all of a sudden, there's a ring of soldiers around the arena.
The Red Army had circled the ice surface with armed soldiers and stood guard for the entire third period. The Canadians, understandably, were intimidated and lost that game 4-3. It seemed as if Foster Hewitt was right after all. The pressure was on to win the next game, but the Canucks had to come up with a way to deal with the superior Russian stick handling.
I remember after the first period of the first game, Stumpy Gatter, my goalkeeper, when he came in the dressing room, he said, geez, I thought every one of those guys had a puck for a while.
The Canadians decided to change tactics, and in the face of Soviet intimidation, decided to push back.
That guy's corked a few did sort of change their style a bit. Yeah.
They start playing with their heads up.
Yeah.
You had to kind of break up their patterns. So you knock one down on the ice, you know, he wasn't there anymore, and the puck is free. So it worked pretty well for us.
The new tactics seemed to be working, and the Packers tied their next game 1-1 against the Wings of the Soviet. The team desperately needed to bring home a win in Game 3, but the best they could do was another tie against the Moscow Dynamos.
Now, you had to watch, and they were a little sneaky, though, at times. That's what you had to watch.
Yeah.
Like kicking the back of your skates, or either kicking them or pushing them with your stick, little things like that.
The fifth and final game would decide the series, and against the best Russian team, the Moscow Selects, the Packers won a remarkable victory by a decisive 5-1 score.
I think we won because we were scared like hell. We wanted to get out of there.
As the newspapers back home reported, Foster Hewitt had indeed blew it.
Well, poor Foster Hewitt, he's not here right now, but he's the guy that said over there, we didn't stand a chance in heck or something.
He never did apologize.
When they weren't on the ice, the players did some sightseeing, visiting Red Square, their pockets full of rubles.
They give us so much money a day to spend.
$125, I think it was in our money we had to spend.
But the trouble is, you couldn't buy anything.
There was nothing there to buy.
There was about 6 girls out in front of the hotel that were sweeping all the time. They weren't young, older ones, but gee.
We'd be giving our money away.
We called them over and gave them these bags of rubles. And I'll tell you should have seen the look on their face. It was just something, you know.
The glory days are long gone at Kelowna's Memorial Arena, now home to minor hockey and adult pickup games.
Are you guys that fast or what?
Oh, no, they're twice as fast. This is slow motion compared to us.
Looking back, These men remember the time when an amateur team from a small Canadian town took on the best of the mighty Soviet Union in hostile territory and returned home victors.
Yeah, we showed them as much as we could, and they said we won, so we're happy.